You two are the best thing that ever happened to me. The best thing that ever happened to you. Then why weren't you there? Sentimental Value comes to us from filmmaker Joachim Trier, hope I pronounced that correctly, who did Thelma and the Worst Person in the World. A terrific movie that you need to check out. And much like The Worst Person in the World, this reunites Mr. Trier with the incredibly gifted, levels above anyone else going today, Renate Rensva. I'm pretty certain that I still probably butchered the pronunciation, but so good. So fucking good. I will watch anything she's in. The Worst Person in the World turned me on to her work. She's been in stuff like Handling the Undead, A Different Man, and now Sentimental Value. That has gotten quite a bit of attention on the film festival circuit and was actually playing at a small theater in Seattle, but unfortunately, due to travel, I had to wait to catch a showing at a theater about 30 miles from me, and after watching Wicked for Good, I decided to sit down and check out this film. So, let's talk about the plot of this. So, Miss Rensva plays Nora. She is a 30-something stage actress that has some problems that will be discussed a little bit later on, such as family stuff, but she has a great relationship with her sister Agnes, played by, and I'm pretty certain I'm probably going to butcher this, Inga Ivsdottir Lilias, who shines in this movie. I just want to say that. This is going to be a review where I lavish this fucking thing with praise, just so you know. Slathering it like it's butter on a roll. And they have a father who has been out of their lives, so to speak. I mean, he comes in, comes out, that kind of stuff. Like, it's been a bit distant. He's a filmmaker named Gustav, played by Stellan Skarsgård. And after being out of their lives for a bit, and after the death of the matriarch of the group, the mother, just in case you couldn't quite figure that out, patriarch's dad, matriarch's mother, Gustav comes back into their lives and certain things bubble up, but Gustav presents an idea for a film and he wants Nora to be in it because he feels that even though she's a stage actress and she's very, very good, that this would be a project she would be born to do. And from there, we have a movie that is the finest thing I've seen this year. It is absolutely heartbreaking at moments. It is gut-bustingly hilarious or something. There is one scene that had the entire theater laughing, proving, and I'll talk about that in spoilers, proving that people really understand deep movie cuts. But I do also want to shout out the other writer of this project, Eskil Vogt. I think that's how you say it. He did The Innocents, which is a terrific Norwegian, superhero type movie. Some kids get superpowers, but it's so low-key. It's so fucking good. It's like one of the most unsung films that has come out this decade. It's haunting. There's one scene I have to skip past. There's a scene with a cat. You may want to skip past that, but anyway, let's get back to Sentimental Value. So Neon Studios picked this up for distribution. I was seeing trailers for this for a while, and when I saw that Renate Rensva was in it, I go, okay, I'm in. I don't care when I gotta watch it. I'm gonna fucking watch it for her because she truly is just levels above so many other actresses. I mean, whether she's the absolute best, whether I'm just lavishing her with praise based mainly on the strength of The Worst Person in the World and this role, she's still so goddamn good and is just so expressive and sometimes without having too many expressions on her face. But I am going to talk about the rest of the cast here. Elle Fanning deserves award consideration for her role, even though she's not in it a ton. She does so goddamn good. And between this and Predator Badlands, that is, it is just such a night and day thing. Not that she wasn't good in that, but I'm just a big budget thing. Modest budget film here, but I can't imagine it costs more than a few million. But Inga is the one that shines the most to me. This is like a career launching performance. And I mean, I'm sure she's been in other projects, but I will watch other stuff she's in because that's just how good she is. Anders Danielson Lee, however you say it, who is also in The Worst Person in the World, has a role in this. And there is also a young boy, I didn't catch the kid's name, but he plays the son Eric. He's really good. There's magnificent cinematography in this. There are some heartbreaking scenes in this. There is one scene between the two sisters later on that I'll get into in details in spoilers that absolutely I was stifling tears in the theater, and I know that sounds very unlike me, even though I have cried some movies this year and this past decade. There are movies that get to me. Help me, I'm feeling. But it's about love, loss, and also trying to reconnect and realizing that actions have consequences. And there's just so much beauty in the heartache of this that I would almost go watch this again in theaters, except I don't know if I want to pay the full price. I also don't think I'm going to have a chance to go see this at an AMC theater. If it gets a wider release and goes in a Regal, I may actually sit down and watch it again. And I haven't watched too many other, or rewatched too many films this year that I've already seen. This is like above 290, and this replaced Sinners as my favorite film of the year so far. Now, there's still a few others coming out by the end of the year, and we'll see what ends up happening, but this is just so good. So many great scenes in it. And Miss Rensva, I cannot, again, praise her enough. The stage parts are great, just the facial expressions that she has, and just the range she shows, and the way she plays off of everybody. It's like 4 tremendous performances, and you don't often get that in movie. I mean, yes, you did back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, that kind of stuff, but you don't often get that these days. At least from films that you don't really end up seeing except like on streaming, because theaters just aren't playing films like this in wide release, which is disappointing because after seeing Wicked for Good just a few hours before, I was really looking forward to just seeing something that made me feel, and boy, did this ever. And there's a part about, going back to World War II that I'll talk about in spoilers, but good grief. This is magnificent. You guys need to check it out. 4 super strong performances. Oscars are going to fly towards us, or at least Golden Globes. It's in theaters, at least in limited release right now if you want to check it out. 3, 2, 1, spoilers. So, we open up with a narration. By the way, there's Norwegian, even though I think Stellan Skarsgård is Swedish. But, since it's Norwegian, yes, get ready to read subtitles. There's a little bit of English, because despite how talented and gifted and fucking gorgeous Elle Fanning is, I don't think Norwegian is her strong suit. So we open up with a narration about a house. We see 2 girls running around it. We see some, we hear about a 6th grade report that Nora did about family, about the father fixing up the house and other stuff, but there was this one damaged part, and it would cause damage in the house, and it was mirroring what was going on with this family, because unfortunately Gustav was not there. He was not there for much of their lives. He would bop back in and out, but realistically he was not there. And the mother also unfortunately succumbed to an illness. They actually didn't really say. It could have been natural causes for all we know, but they say that she passed away. Hence, after that great opening scene, we get this part where they're talking at the wake, and then we see how obviously there's tension here. We do have a great part 2, not a part 2 of this movie, but a part where we have Nora on stage, but she's panicking. She doesn't think she can do this. And sometimes you'll talk yourself out of that stuff, not thinking you can do this, not thinking you can be on stage. It's not on the same level. There are times doing these videos, I think, I can't do this. I can't do this stuff. I mean, it's just on a small scale. This is in front of a fairly packed theater. It's one of those, really cool, old school theaters. And she even tries to run out at one point, but they tape up her outfit. She manages to nail it because Nora's just that gifted, and also Miss Rensva is just that good. God, I cannot get over how fucking pretty she is. I mean, just how absolutely fucking pretty she is. And that's not even she is. But it's just, Jesus. I mean, with the utmost respect. But anyway, I just threw away my notes there because there's no real point. But Gustav basically presents an idea to talk to her about this project. And it's this project that mirrors something that happened in his life a little bit. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But she can't work with him. And she can't work with him in part because she's got her own issues stemming from the fact that her father wasn't there. And then, Agnes has her child and her husband, and things are going fairly good. I mean, fairly good, considering the tension, but obviously things are about to break, however you want to go. Gustav also realizes he's getting older. He has not done a film in a while. He's trying to get the financing, he's trying to do this, but just so happens that Rachel Kemp, who is played by Elle Fanning, really liked his film, and this film that he presented actually had Agnes, a young Agnes. It was during wartime, World War II time, which mirrors something else that Gustav went through with his own mother, who was a victim, unfortunately, of being, in those, prison camps in, like, they're in the occupation, and that bullshit that nobody should have ever had to fucking gone through. And with just showing some images, Agnes looks at this stuff later on. I'm jumping around a bit. That's really haunting shit and gives Agnes perspective on stuff that's going on. But Nora and father just can't come to an agreement on that, so he ends up getting Rachel to come with him. I do have to note, though, with Elle Fanning, I was not familiar with your game because she can rock a pair of jeans. She can rock a beautiful gown. Jesus. I mean, Jesus. But also, Nora is carrying on an affair with a guy that she works with on the theater deal. And I think that's actually the guy that was in The Worst Person in the World now that I think about. Maybe. I think it was. It's been a bit since I've seen it. And the guy looks a little bit different as far as facial hair and stuff. But they're carrying on a bit of an affair. She's kind of keeping a distance because since he's married, she doesn't have to worry so much about the commitment. And she, really she's doing pretty well, but you can see the cracks starting to form because this facade is not necessarily working, and Agnes in particular can see just how much he's hurting. So can Gustav, and he realizes his time is short. It's not like, he's going to drop in just a minute, but he realizes his time is short, and he wants to make sure that he does right by his daughters. And again, really wants Nora to be in one. Like Agnes was in one earlier, but like one scene later on, they weren't there. Or, he wasn't there and everything, and Agnes was the center of his universe, and then he was gone. And he's a brilliant filmmaker, but he's a lousy father. And it isn't that he doesn't love his kids. He probably just doesn't know how to be a dad. I'm not excusing it. You should always be there for your children. You should always make sure that you take care of your children because that's how people grow up. That's why I'm grateful that I have always had my parents with me, from when I was born to, now, and hopefully, which I know that's not wood, but paper is wood. Or used to be wood, that, things go on for, years and years. The thing is that not having both parents can be difficult. And as Rachel is getting prepared to be in this film, certain changes are being made. Now, Rachel's a very famous actress in real life and also playing the character, because Elle Fanning is very famous. How could she not be? She's very good. She ends up... she really dives into this role and tries to get a grip on it. And the thing is Netflix is on board because she's a famous actress. So changes are being made. They want to have a say in the production people. Gustav wants his own people with him, such as a camera guy, Peter. But he's a little old with a limp, so he's not sure if that's going to work. Some great, magnificent reflection scenes in this that I can't encapsulate properly. Like, I truly can't. One, because it's much more a dialogue-driven movie. And two, shock as this may be, I don't speak Norwegian, so I can't convey this. But Eric has his party. This is the funniest scene in the goddamn movie. Well, besides actually when Nora leaves when Rachel and her dad show up, she leaves and grabs this vase that she, was going to, because they're packing up the house, preparing to move it. She, grabs the vase and leaves out through this fence that they used to leave out through as kids, which I thought was a nice little touch and everything. It was pretty hilarious. But the funniest scene, Eric is having his birthday party. Things are going good and everything. And Gustav gives him some movies. Movies are not necessarily appropriate for children, by the way, because one is The Piano Teacher. And for those who know, and there are a few others that fly by, but one has Monica Bellucci in. But The Piano Teacher, he says, this movie will teach you about women and relationships. I don't necessarily think that's good. That's going to require a lot of therapy, because I've seen The Piano Teacher. I don't know if I could review it because it's pretty goddamn dark at times, but that was really funny because I got the reference. So he's trying to be a good grandfather, but still there's the issues of not being there for his own daughters. After losing a mother, all this stuff's going on. He's talking to Rachel, walking her through this stuff. They're going to film in the house where stuff occurred, such as his mother taking her own life when he was very young. And then they moved to Sweden, and then they moved back, and he renovated the house sometime in 1986. We got a montage and stuff like that. And how he met his wife, who it didn't end up working out, but they were able to have 2 beautiful children together. But there's that stuff. There's Nora, in theater group, hearing from the guy that she had an affair with that he's getting a divorce. Oh, well, we don't have to hide anymore. And he's like, I don't know, because of stuff you said, and I don't know if that's necessarily a good idea. I personally would not resist her. I don't know who could, but I totally get it, because it's called acting for a reason. Based on the character work, Nora has a lot of therapy and stuff to do. And as Rachel is trying to dive into this role, she has a really emotional part with somebody I believe was playing the mother. I don't remember the actress's name, but she was only in a couple scenes. She was pretty good. And Gustav's trying to bring this out of her. And Elle Fanning, naturally being just so good, is able to nail this stuff, dive into this role. And Nora is doing her stage stuff. Things are going well, but she ends up having a point where she has a bit of not a crisis of faith, but has a bit of doubt, eases back, actually calls out of one particular performance, so they got to cancel this performance. She's not answering her phone. Agnes is worried about her. Agnes goes and does some research, finds out about the grandmother, all the suffering that she went through in the camps and that kind of stuff, the torture methods, and it's all in Norwegian, so we can't fucking read it unless they translate it in the subtitles. But you get the gist. She went through a lot of shit. She went through months and months of torture, so no wonder she carried that with her. And even though she had a son, that deeply affected her, as it would deeply affect anybody, and anybody was able to go on, live, and have a life, especially the Holocaust survivors, that kind of stuff. Anybody that was able to live a full life after that stuff, tougher people than I could ever hope to be. Tougher people than a lot of us could ever hope to be. So we see, we just see more great scenes of, just acting, developing these characters. And the most heartbreaking one, besides when, Gustav says to them, you're the best thing that ever happened. You two are the best thing that ever happened to me. And the best thing that ever happened. And why weren't you there? Is when Agnes is talking to Nora. And I don't know why. I almost get through a goddamn review, even with a movie that makes you sad, before I start to crack. But she says, when Mom went down, you helped me. You took care of me. Like you didn't have somebody besides Mom when you were growing up. But I had you. And that's why they got that bond. That's the thing about having a sibling. I have a sister. Doesn't live around here. Not that that's important. But when you have a bond like that, you make sure to take care of your sibling. Even if it's not blood, you don't need blood to be family. But with them, they had that particular bond, and there's just this really, really beautifully done scene just of them just talking and hugging and crying, and good God. But Agnes also read the script because Eric was going to be in the movie. Rachel dropped out of the movie even after saying she wasn't going to drop out of it, because she felt that she just wasn't able to grasp this role fully. She also went from blonde to dark-haired, much like Nora, because it was written for Nora. Because it's mirroring how he treated her and also what the mother went through, and it's combining all this grief into this film. It's fine. It's fine. It's just a movie. Even as deep. I sat through the end credits. I haven't sat through the full end credits of a movie in a while. And it wasn't a big theater. Like, you could literally walk out in a minute. But anyway, he understands with Rachel, and that, you are a very good actress, and if you feel you can't do it, you came to me and talked to me, so all right. He then ends up drinking and ends up kind of passing out in the front yard and ends up getting taken to the hospital. So Nora also reads the script. Nora goes and talks to her dad. And finally realizes, because they never really got to have that talk for a variety of reasons. I mean, it's not like he's a saint. I mean, he's trying to make up for lost time, but still, it's hard to do that. And then her and her sister come back from getting coffee, and he's up drinking, drinking a whatever drink, cranberry juice, whatever it is, flirting with a nurse, who, based on just a few shots, very fucking attractive. And then he described to Rachel how this is going to go. We're going to end with her going in this room and taking her own life, but once the door closes, that's it. So, we then cut to Nora taking care of Eric, send him off to school, and then she looks back at the room. Oh shit. Because she tried to take her own life at one point. And it's never the answer, but it's something that always gets in our head, especially those of us that have depression and everything. But she looks back there and is about to, and then here's the door again. And it's Eric. Forgot his mobile. Does it, okay, and make sure that he's gone, and then goes to do it, closes the door, cut. She decided to be in the movie. He's happy, she's happy. There's some sentimental value, folks. Also, the house got broken down at one point, renovated and made all modernized, because I guess they sold it. Which, I guess probably would be a good amount of money. Probably a good amount of money just to renovate it, because good Lord, the amount of renovations from that. But sentimental value gets an A+, because that's 4 super strong performances. And that is just, it's a story that follows some familiar beats, but with the skill of the director and also just the writer-director, but also the other writer, just the skills of everybody involved. That's my favorite film of the year. Could change. Got about 5 more weeks of 2025, but if it's not number 1 by the end of the year, it's going to probably be number 2. A+. So agree, disagree, what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Rentland, and always make sure that you keep those close to you, folks, because you never know when they're going to be gone. Stay around for your family, folks. Stay around for those who care about you. Happy trails to you.